But as far as scholarships go, the first thing I'm going to say about scholarships is that things have changed a lot. There are so many things to say about scholarships, but we had to narrow it down to the most useful to everyone. So we're only going to talk about the most common things that parents don't know when they call us. So the most important development that is, probably different, even if you had younger kids a while back, is guaranteed scholarships. And the best way to talk about guaranteed scholarships is to compare them to competitive scholarships, which when most parents call us, when they talk about scholarships, most of the time what they're thinking about is competitive scholarships. And a competitive scholarship is where students have to reach a certain bar to make them eligible. And then they usually will write an essay, and they are competing against all of the other eligible students for a board to decide which of who of these students to give these scholarships to. Whereas guaranteed scholarships are what many schools, if not most schools across the nation, are going to more and more. And the way a guaranteed scholarship works is that if you have a GPA and a certain ACT score, you are guaranteed a certain amount of money per year if you attend that college. And this makes it way easier for families to know ahead of time roughly the scholarship portion of the money that they are going to be receiving if they decide to go to this school. They still might get some additional competitive scholarships on top of that, but we have found that most of our students, the majority of their scholarships are comprised of the guaranteed scholarships that they got, which makes it way easier for you to, know what you're going to get. And we will say, we had a question about the COVID effect on schools not requiring the ACT. And every school that we have spoken with that had guaranteed scholarships in place has told us that if a student does submit ACT scores, they will still honor the guaranteed scholarships that they had posted prior to COVID. That might not be the case at every school, but it is certainly the case at the majority of schools that our students have been going to, that we have reached out with to ensure that those are still in place. Another thing that we have also noticed, of the COVID impact is that the students who do submit ACT scores are getting the scholarship dollars, and the students who do not submit ACT scores are competing against a much larger pool of students, and primarily on GPA alone. So if you're competing against schools that have more GPA inflation than your school, it could be to your, dissatisfaction, the scholarship dollars that you are end up getting offered compared to your student's caliber. Some of you, it might make more sense to go the route of not submitting ACT scores, and we hope you'll talk to your school counselor and the admissions staff at that school to, make the determination there. But we have seen students just recently in this last month who got turned down at UT with a 3.49 GPA who did not submit ACT scores. So that is, just something to take in consideration as you're navigating the differences with the COVID. And nobody really knows how it's going to settle. Everybody has speculations with what it's going to be. Are they ever going to require ACT? We don't know. We're just going under the auspice of what it still is right now. And, that's all we can do. So as far as with the guaranteed scholarship model, part of the reason that is important is that the single best way to get scholarship money right now is through GPA and ACT scores. Obviously, I'm biased in that this is how I make a living is on the ACT, but I hope you're not taking my word for it. I mean, reach out to your school counselors because so many families are spending so much time searching for scholarships, filling out scholarship essays and applications to maybe get a handful of single time, issued scholarships, when if they would have just invested the same amount of time in getting their GPA/ACT scores up, they would have ended up getting so much more return for the same amount of time invested in filling out all of these scholarship applications. And that was something I forgot about the guaranteed scholarship model. Most of them do not require any scholarship applications or essays. It's just if you have the GPA and the ACT scores, you are guaranteed that money at these different schools. So it is a beautiful thing. And it has been our experience, that for every 25 hours of prep a student puts in to prepping for the ACT, they will increase one composite point. And one composite point on average turns into $2,500 of scholarship money over 4 years. So that averages out to students making about $100 an hour for every hour that they invest into ACT prep. And we don't care who you go to, or if you self-prep or what way you go. But if scholarships are important to you, and like I said, don't take my word for it. Please reach out to others. The easiest possible hack you have to get scholarship dollars is the ACT and GPA scores. And we've actually put together a guide for everyone to help you know what scholarship money you have available. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all here. And this is on our website. Our website is actprep.com. If you scroll to the top, you will see this part that says it pays to prep. And that is our scholarship guide. And we have just made it easy for you to find your ACT score and GPA and see how much money you would get at these different schools. So we have it broken down per year, over 4 years, with HOPE and GAMS. And we also have the amount for you to pay after the scholarship. So even though some of these schools give huge amounts of scholarship money, it still may be a better deal for you to go to a school where you might not even get any scholarship money because of how much is still left to pay after that scholarship. And some of these numbers are way lower than what families are thinking. I mean, you're seeing here 18s, 19s. Maryville College gives $19,000 per year, $76,000 over 4 years for a 19 on the ACT with no GPA requirement. So this is a tool for you to be able to find these scholarships easily. We also give you some other numbers to consider in your college decision. And the two numbers that I'm going to point you to today are the students who return after the first semester. This is something that most parents and students aren't taking into consideration in choosing their school. But if this number is really low, then there's something funny going on there. Students who go there, if, only 58% of them are coming back after the first year. I mean, I'm not trying to call anybody out here, but, that's a red flag that you might want to consider as to why that is. We've also put the average salary after graduation. Averages are a horrible thing to use in most things, and it's probably no different here because of how big of a difference there is in majors. But this is just something to take into consideration, to decide on if your investment is the best investment that you could be making with your years and dollars. So, we will admit that, these are from College Scorecard, and they have stopped publishing these numbers. So these are from a few years ago, the last year that they were publishing. Now they do a span, but we're giving you these numbers to just give you a starting point to consider some of these different things. So you can find these, like I said, just on our website, wall rates. If you scroll down to the red, the ones highlighted in red, those are your full tuition scholarships. We also have done the same thing for out of state. So these, the one I just showed you, these are for in-state. Most of you that are on here today, I'm imagining, are from Tennessee, but we have also done it for out of state. These are all guaranteed scholarships. I forgot to mention on the last one, we list on here if they are or are not guaranteed scholarships. But on the out-of-state scholarship guide, we have only included guaranteed scholarships. So you can just scroll down and find your GPA and ACT scores. And we have hundreds of scholarships here from across the country. Same thing, highlighted in red means it's a full tuition scholarship. So this is available. We update it every year. And obviously it's probably going to be changed once your students are applying to college. But this is just a starting point to help you consider schools that you might not be considering right now. So that is a little something that hopefully some of you will find useful. 1 second here. So I'm going to jump over to a question now before we go to the next section, which is ACT. It says, do you recommend AP over dual enrollment? And the only thing I'm going to say about that is that we do see an impact on students' ACT scores based off of AP and IB classes that they take, but we do not see an impact on students' ACT scores with dual enrollment classes. So a student who takes a ton of dual enrollment classes, we don't see a big difference from their ACT score before they took any of those dual enrollment classes. Where if a student takes a ton of AP classes before they took their ACT and after they take their ACT, we notice a big jump in their ACT scores. So that's the 2 cents I can share on our opinion on that. So thank you for that question.